Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today we are looking at Alien 3 for the NES.
Yes! So Brian has already taken a look at a lot of Alien games that came before this, but of course they needed to port a game that's about, a movie where you kill a 12-year-old right away, about onto 1,000 consoles. So we're taking a look at the ones people care about the most. This week, the NES.
Yeah, why were there so many ports of it?
I don't know. Acclaim in the early 90s. That's all you gotta say.
But is it good?
We'll find out.
You tell us.
Start the review. Just start it. Alright, originally released in 1992 on the Genesis and Amiga, the NES port came out in 1993. Brash, I do all the ports now, we do it in the other videos.
We'll do it in the other videos.
Yay! But it was developed by Probe Software and published by Acclaim. It's a port of the Genesis game, which is weird for a step back console, 1993, but hey, whatever. Let's get into it. Alright, so when it comes to graphics, bit of a mixed bag, but it's not bad. Like, surprisingly decent. So the biggest knock I'm gonna have on it is the fact that everything just kind of looks the same. Like, all the levels, for the most part, kind of look the same. And there's really, like, 4 colors used through this entire game. Like, you see a lot of silvers, you see a lot of greens, you see a lot of purples, and blue. So, it's weird. But, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of the NES color palette, but for what they do here, it kind of weirdly works. And I gotta give props to the detail in it, though. Like, in the levels, in the way Ripley and the Xenomorphs look, and even in the heads-up display at the bottom. Like, this is a really useful HUD. And it doesn't, like, take away from, like, even though it takes up, like, a quarter of the screen, it still doesn't take away from, like, the actual viewing window of the game. So it's a nice balance they got going on there. I'm surprised. So we both gave it 6s. And when it comes to beer, I'll add 1 beer for just the overall lack of color.
The sound. I'll be honest, right off the bat, the soundtrack turns on and it sounds pretty great. Now, there is a caveat. It does not sound like it belongs in the Aliens game because, when you think Aliens, you think dark, moody, but this is just straight up action. It's very, like, poppy and it can be very catchy. What's nice is every 3 levels you get a different song, and they pretty much stay high quality throughout the entire game. So we definitely appreciate that. Now, as far as the sound effects, they are a little goofy. And we know NES is capable of much better. It just sounded a little too over the top, and it didn't match with the quality of the actual music itself. So that wasn't great, but what we will say is, it's not bad. I do like all the little touches with the motion tracker, and that they do have sound effects for pretty much everything, including releasing the prisoners. So they're all nice touches, but when it comes to scores, we both gave it 7s. Definitely above average. That soundtrack was great. If they put a little more effort into the sound effects, it might have gotten a little higher from us. So when it comes to beers, I'm only going to add 1 because that first opening level soundtrack is just awesome.
Alright, the control. I mean, it's really simple, but it just works. B jumps, A shoots, select changes your weapon. That's about it. I mean, if we had some real knocks, like you can't shoot directly up like you can in some other versions, you can only do it diagonally. And yeah, I mean, sometimes the jumping does feel a little bit goofy. But besides that, I mean, it works pretty well for what it is. I'm actually, again, surprised that it controls decently. So we gave it 8s. And when it comes to beer, I guess I'll give it 1 beer just for the inability to shoot directly up.
The gameplay. First, let's talk about the objective. You're playing as Ripley, who must go through each level and find all the survivors. Now, every few levels, you have a major boss fight, and they actually refer to these bosses as guardians. So there's not a ton of variety in what you're doing. And as Jim mentioned with the control, it's pretty simple. You're platforming and shooting. That's really all there is to it.
And rescuing!
Yeah, but really, all you're doing is running past them. You don't even press something for it.
Rescuing.
Damn it! The game, at its core, plays absolutely fine, and it actually is kind of fun. But where it falls apart, and you'll rehear this on the other Alien 3 review, is that Why did they need to include a time limit? It would even be okay if this was a little bit more of a linear game, but each stage is a completely wide open map with a ton of purposeful dead ends that go nowhere or get you power-ups. And if you're even a second past escaping the level, you die and have to restart it all over again. The only nice touch is that you do get shown where everyone is after you die, but trying to memorize that is damn near impossible. And the one issue, on top of just trying to find the survivors in time, is dealing with all the aliens you encounter because they come on screen really fast. Like, you have no time. So your only chance of really getting through these stages is memorizing where everyone is and just rinse and repeat. Once again, the core mechanics of platforming and shooting, they're great. If you got rid of this time limit, this would be a completely different game and probably a lot more fun. So when it comes to scores, I gave it a 6 and Jim gave it a 5. That unforgiving time limit is just a killer. So when it comes to beer, I'm adding 2 because why you gotta ruin a game like that?
Alright, originality. It's a running gunny platformer. That doesn't do it. It's an Alien 3. No, it's not the first Alien 3 game. Okay. So this is like genre of run and gunny platformer with a strict time limit, along with like that mission overall of having to save people. I mean, to us, we don't really know of that many games with like such a strict time limit for your collecting in these big open levels. So that seems a little unique to us. That's kind of where it ends. So Brian gave it a 4 and I gave it a 3. And when it comes to beer, I'll give it 2 beers for not being the first Alien 3 game and not being really the first of anything else. Yeah.
The replayability, similar to the originality, is pretty lacking in this game. Now, as I mentioned during the gameplay, because you have such a tight time limit, you will die a lot. And memorizing where the survivors are is going to be key to getting through each level. So the only area we could really find is that you don't have to get the survivors in any particular order, so therefore your playthroughs could feel a tiny bit different. But that's really kind of stretching what we're talking about here, and the game is hard because of those limitations. So I gave it a 4, Jim gave it a 3. The only thing that could have made this a little bit better for replayability, and once again, not only removing the time limit, is if they more randomized where the survivors spawned on the map to have more time to explore. When it comes to beer, I'm going to add another 2. Just a wasted opportunity to just have that stupid ass time limit in there. Overall,
it's alright.
It's a running gun that could have been better, but that timer really is a killer. I love the presentation, I'll say that.
You know what? I'll give it this. So I'm the one tuning in next week for this. So I'll say I do like the level design more than the Genesis version. Maybe because it came out later, it seems a little more varied. There's more of an emphasis on the platforming part of it. You still have to deal with the bullcrap of, having to rescue all the people in time and all that, which is really, really annoying, and you won't realize just how annoying it is until you play it. Like, it's too strict. And it doesn't wean you into it. It just, like, even the first level, you might have to replay it a couple times before you know where everyone is. Like, it's one of those games. But even once you kind of get the hang of it, like, you'll have a little spurt where it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. Before it, like, dips back into, it's back to the BS. So, it's one of those.
I would personally say, if you like aliens and you like running guns, give it a try because at its core, it is a good game, has good presentation, controls well. If you really keep getting stuck, put in the codes and just get infinite life, infinite ammo, and then you can at least experience the later levels. Just my suggestion.
Yeah, and what do you call it? At the very least, too, if you're a purist, all of them are cheap.
So when it comes to scores, I gave it a 6, Jim gave it a 5. I did think it was above average by just a hair. It could have been much better, but like I said, that fucking timer, man. So when it comes to all of our scores being combined, it rounds out to a 6.1. You can't deny that the control, the graphics, and the sound are all great. Everything else just is where it really falls apart.
Yeah, the important stuff.
Yeah. So, if you're looking to complete a collection, like Jim said, at least it's a cheap game. Give it a try, but don't expect too much.
Yeah, or don't. Save your time.
You do that too. Mostly.
Mesque.
What? Cheers, guys.
Later.
When it comes to beer pairing, I'm going with the Alien IPA out of Sierra Blanca Brewing Company. This comes in at 7%, and just look at that label. It looks awesome. Obviously, I'm attracted to the name, but it is available year-round, so pick it up and try it out. But remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly.